So check out this ad by VW.
I can't. Is that German?
Right. It's in German. So it says, Swiss Car of the Year 2020. Was it too easy, Tesla? Dear Tesla Model 3, I congratulate you on winning. Next year's competition will be stronger. See you next year. Greetings from the iD.3.
That's so nice of VW to spend the money to advertise to say, good job, Model 3.
Well, it's not. It's more of a backhanded compliment. It's saying like, we weren't even competing, but next year, it's like if you were a baseball player and you said, oh, great job, John Jones, for being MVP this year, but next year I'm going to be playing and I'm going to get MVP. So actually you suck, but the only reason you got this award is because I wasn't there. So that's what they're basically saying.
Why was the ad in German, though?
Well, that's because the iD.3 isn't coming to America.
Yeah, it is. We were just at the LA Auto Show, and they talked about how it was coming to America.
No, it's not coming.
Do you have any proof of this?
Yes. So Volkswagen's US CEO, Scott Keogh, said, to me, it's just simple. Simple logic. If you look at the segment that the iD.3 competes in, let's call it the classic hatchback segment. In America, unfortunately, that's 100,000 cars. If you look at where we're going with the eSUV, that's 4 to 5 million cars. So look, we need to get these cars on the road. We need to show success. How do we come in with the iD.3 and say we're just testing it out? They would say small Euro car, more of a compliance car, as opposed to an eSUV. They're going to say, wow, that's the heart of the market. In the heart of the segment, that's a real car. Let's go. We want to throw a good first punch. We never want to throw a weak first punch because you might not get a chance to throw a second.
Wait, what?
This is what he's saying. So if we call through the ramblings here, he's essentially saying there isn't enough of a market for the iD.3 in the United States.
Because we love SUVs.
But there are plenty of hatchbacks.
I want to point out that VW sold 60,000 Golfs in the U.S. before the scandal. So, I mean, people love that form factor, which is what the iD.3 is.
And he's assuming that the market is stagnant, that it doesn't change. People don't change their habits or their wants depending on the products that come out, because that's like looking at the smartphone segment back before the iPhone came out and be like, but nobody wants these smartphones, so therefore nobody is going to want this.
This reminds me of an email that Mercedes just sent out last Friday. They said, thank you for your interest in the EQC, an innovative new direction for Mercedes-Benz, which is getting a lot of attention. It launched in Europe and other markets several months ago and has generated so much interest worldwide that Daimler has had to make a strategic decision to first support the growing customer demand for the EQC in Europe. As a result of this decision, the U.S. market launch date of the EQC will be rescheduled. We will continue keeping you updated on the latest news of this groundbreaking release as we gear up for the U.S. debut of the EQC in 2021.
So all of this talk for the longest time about the EQC coming in 2020. This was back in like 2016. We were like, 2020? I don't think that it's going to come out in the U.S. in 2020. And looks like we were right. So they're just going to Europe.
Yeah. Can you give me any reason why they're doing this?
Yes. Let's take a look at this chart here.
Okay.
So we're looking at small and mid-sized luxury cars sold this year.
What's the line at the top, the red one?
That's the Tesla Model 3. Now, you might think that the row below is the BMW 3 Series, and you'd be right, but it's also the 2 Series, the 4 Series, and the 5 Series.
Those aren't electric.
Yes, no, these are just all luxury cars.
No, I mean, you can't put an electric car up against all the ICE cars. That's not fair.
It's beating them, and it's beating them handily. So we're not just looking at one car below that. We're looking at all of BMW's small and mid-sized luxury cars.
Okay, what's the line below that?
That's all of Mercedes' cars.
No,
all of their luxury cars, even the small ones, which the Model 3 technically doesn't even fall into because it's a mid-sized sedan. It's out-competing all of Mercedes' cars.
Wait, and then that's Audi, Lexus, Infiniti, Acura, Cadillac, like...
The list goes on. All of their small and mid-sized luxury cars.
So this is why Mercedes and VW don't want to compete in the U.S. They know they're going to have their hat handed to them.
I think that they know that. I mean, On top of this, they have battery supply problems, so they're not going to be able to just churn out the cars and fill this global market. They're going to need to narrow it down, and the EU is going to have tighter emission standards, so they really need these electric cars in Europe, and since they can't really produce enough, they're going to just keep it in Europe.
And so Tesla right now has to ship all their cars over to Europe, which is, a lot harder for them to do. And the Gigafactory 4 is not up and running yet.
Right. And that raises the prices of all Model 3s in Europe.
Right, because of import tariffs.
Exactly. And so that means that the only way that these car companies are going to have an advantage, these two German car companies, is if they stick to Europe, they don't go to the US. And let's just look at this another way. Here are all the small and mid-sized luxury cars sold in the US this year. That top line is the Model 3. Everything else, those are the cars separated by individual cars. So you can see that the Model 3 outsold every other luxury car by an absolutely huge margin.
Oh my gosh.
So,
wow.
When all of these luxury brands are going like, oh, the Tesla Model 3, oh, we're coming for you, it's because they're scared out of their mind.
And now BMW had been saying that the i3 would stop production in 2021 because their iNext platform would be rolling out then. And now they announced that they will continue the i3 in production until 2024. So the BEV SUV iX3 is due out next year.
But you just said that it's in production because the i3 is still in production.
Oh, no, the iX3. And then the electric iX4 sedan will be coming out. And then in 2021, the iNext crossover.
The iX what?
The iNext.
Into the iX4?
The iX4 is the sedan. And then the iNext is the crossover.
They need to work on their names.
I know.
Why can't they just call things why can't they just come up with regular names? I mean, they've named all sorts of other things.
So the i8 is already out. So it's just confusing to add an X in the middle.
And then to do the 3 and the 4.
But then call something iNext.
It's very confusing. But I'm sure people will figure it out. But let's talk about the i3 for a second. The i3, they've basically always said, oh, we're going to stop production of that and make all these new electric vehicles. And it seems like they might be making these electric vehicles coming in a couple of years, which it always feels like it's just a couple of years away.
It's always a couple of years. I mean,
tomorrow. It's like
the i3 has not been refreshed in 7 years. And why is that? Because they pretty much thought they were going to be scrapping it soon. It had pretty good sales last year. It had 35,000 sales of the i3 last year.
Right. It is a pretty compelling electric car, especially for the specific purpose that it is, which is basically a commuter/city car. But yeah, it's hard to reconfigure because it's made out of entirely carbon fiber, so you have to retool all of that. And it's such a small footprint that it's hard to add more batteries to, so you can't get that much more range. And they've already squeezed just about everything out of the efficiency as well, because it's made out of carbon fiber and it has like bicycle tires. So, right, it's sad that this is their crutch to lead them on to the next step when, they've been selling the car for almost a decade now.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip. You can watch the whole episode by clicking this card or by clicking the link in the video description down below. Now you know.